between all the Superman stuff and that Supergirl casting, there's a lot of DC movie news coming out. It's crazy to think that they've managed to fumble that the first time. I mean, they did a good job handling an extended cinematic universe before with the DCAU, with the Timverse, and all those animated movies they've done. It's weird they don't just use those as the blueprint for movies. Gives me an idea. Let's do it. Greetings, geeks and girls. I'm the Joyful Jester. Welcome back to the Nerd Cave for another comic book movie review. And today is going to be our very first CBM Top 10. That's right, we're going to be looking at the top 10 DC animated movies. But first, a couple of ground rules. Rule number 1. I will not be covering any movies that are tied into television shows. I feel like that's just cheating because they're more extensions of shows rather than actual animated movies. Rule number 2. I will only be covering movies made pre the Flashpoint Paradox New 52 reboot, mostly because we'll be here all day. Not to mention, I'm just more familiar with these movies than I am the more recent ones. And finally, rule number 3. I will not be covering any of the LEGO direct-to-DVD movies because I feel like that those are in a league of their own and I should leave that to people who cover LEGO things. Besides, nothing beats LEGO Batman. So, with those out of the way, make your way to the Hall of Justice and stay away from dimensional portals. This is the top 10 DC animated movies. Number 10, Superman Batman Apocalypse. Coming fresh off of the Supergirl movie last week, honestly, this was a refreshing change of pace. And this is how you do Supergirl's origin. Now, I know this movie's technically a sequel, but you can watch this on its own and you won't have to worry about missing anything. Based on the Jeff Loeb storyline, Batman and Superman come across an alien ship containing Kara that crashes in the Gotham Bay. Concerned where she might end up going in life, Superman just encourages her to follow in his footsteps, but the evil ruler of Apocalypse, Darkseid, wants to kidnap her and turn her into one of his warriors. Supergirl is then put into question whether she should be going down the path of good or evil. And she's handled beautifully here. But for the main cast, not only do we get Tim Daly and Kevin Conroy reprising their infamous roles, but they also have Susan Eisenberg reprising her role as Wonder Woman from Justice League. So in a way, this is kind of like a Trinity movie. My only gripe with this movie, at least after watching it, is I'm still not sure where Darkseid got the materials to make a Doomsday clone. Not just one, mind you, a frickin' army! Call in the National Guard! Number 9. Justice League New Frontier. Based on the Darwin Cook storyline about the transition of the Golden Age to the Silver Age, despite having Justice League in the title, this movie's really about Martian Manhunter. We follow him most of it, and we really feel the pain he's going through being the last of his kind, but we also feel happy knowing he was one of the founding members of the Justice League. Not to mention, it's interesting seeing characters like Batman go from the dark vigilante to the bright and happy Caped Crusader. Not to mention the cast for this movie. We have David Boreanaz as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, Neil Patrick Harris as The Flash, and of course, the match made in heaven, Lucy Lawless as Wonder Woman. So I bet you're wondering, Jester, if you love this movie so much, why is it not higher on the list? Well, I do have just a couple critiques. You see, the New Frontier storyline was actually really long, and it's damn near impossible to fit everything that happens in that story in this one little short movie. So with that in mind, the movie can sometimes just shift gears to another character with no narrative flow. Also, this might be me just having my own personal moment of petty geek shit, but the villain of this movie should have been Starro. It would have made way more sense. Number 8. Batman Year One. Based on the acclaimed Frank Miller story, before he got all, "I'm the damn Batman," that This movie not only shows the origin story of Bruce Wayne as Batman, but also his relationship with Jim Gordon. Because what is Batman really? It's not the costume or the car or even the guy in the suit. Batman is the legend. It is the myth that is created by criminals that fear him and the people who interact with him. And of course, who knows the legend of Batman better than Jim by the Book Gordon? Number 7. Justice League Doom. Based on the JLA Tower of Babel storyline by Garth Ennis, this movie follows the League as Batman's contingency plans to incapacitate them should they ever become a threat falls into the hands of Ra's al Ghul. And this movie would have been higher if they had followed the comic a little closer. You see, in the comic, it's Ra's who finds the plans because he knows Batman is Bruce Wayne. In the movie, it's Vandal Savage, who wouldn't know Batman's secret identity, let alone about the plans for the League. But if I'm being honest, this movie is high as it is because of the cast. Not only is Tim Daly, Kevin Conroy, and Susan Eisenberg reprising their roles as the Trinity, but Michael Rosenbaum is reprising his role as the Flash, Carl Lumbly is reprising his role as Martian Manhunter, and for Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, they got my own personal pick, Nathan Fillion. All we need is John DiMaggio playing Aquaman for this film, and this would be the perfect Justice League cast. Number 6. Green Lantern First Flight. Ooh, 2 DC movies that have Nathan Fillion playing Hal Jordan? Ooh, this list is gonna spoil me rotten. I automatically recommend this movie to anybody who saw the live-action one and was disappointed, as this was made around the time that the animated series was getting popular and the live-action movie had just come out. And I just have to say, this is probably to date the best Green Lantern movie, as it depicts Hal Jordan the exact way he should be, a lovable scallywag. Not to mention, this film also has a real, actual fight with Green Lantern and Sinestro, after that other time in the live-action movies where we got blue-balled. Number 5. Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. Based on the JLA Earth 2 storyline by Grant Morrison, man, they really like adapting Grant Morrison stories, don't they? The Justice League are visited by an alternate Earth Lex Luthor, who comes from another world where he is Earth's greatest hero, and the Justice League, or should I say the Crime Syndicate of America, are his greatest enemies. There have been a lot of rumors floating around about this movie, that this was supposed to be the movie a la The Mask of the Phantasm that bridged the Justice League animated series with Justice League Unlimited. As you see Batman repairing the Watchtower, you see Wonder Woman acquire the Invisible Jet, and they get the teleporter technology they use a lot in that film. Although, while I don't really fully agree with this fitting into the DCAU, I do think that this movie does take place in the same world that Justice League Doom does. Exact same roster of League members. Martian Manhunter looks practically the same. Just a thought. Number 4. Superman Batman Public Enemies. Based on the comic run written by Jeff Loeb and drawn by Ed McGuinness, where Superman is framed by Lex Luthor after he becomes president, Lex Luthor puts a hit out on Superman, declaring him as dangerous, while the Man of Steel teams up with Bruce to try to stop a meteor that Lex is doing nothing about. But the real star of this film is really just these two's chemistry, once again played by Tim Daly and Kevin Conroy respectively. Hearing them read such character-defining dialogue really just makes me smile ear to ear. Also, this is the first story that reveals that Alfred protects the Batcave with a 12-gauge shotgun laced with salt. And don't worry, the movie did not forget that part.
Halt! Identify yourselves.
Alright, folks, this is it. The final 3 movies on the list. And I should preference this by saying it was really hard to decide which of these 3 I like more, as I think if you're a DC fan, these are the big ones I recommend you check out if you have not seen them. So, just saying this ahead of time, I love all 3 of these movies equally, but I do have to rank them. So here we go. Number 3, Wonder Woman. Yeah, as if my little intro didn't give it away, this is definitely one of my all-time favorite DC animated movies. This film just gets the character, and honestly, as much as I love the Gal Gadot films, to me this is still the best Wonder Woman movie. From the action, to the story, to Wonder Woman's chemistry with Steve, she just feels like Wonder Woman in every sense of the word. A caring hand on the shoulder mixed with a sword through the chest. See, this movie understands Wonder Woman, that before she is anything else, before she is a Justice League member, before she is the Princess of the Amazons, she is a warrior, born in the earth and baptized in combat, ready for battle at a moment's notice, and boy does she kick a whole mess of ass in this movie. Bottom line, this is still the best introduction to the amazing Amazon you'll ever get. Number 2, Batman Under the Red Hood. Honestly, this movie speaks for itself. I can't possibly praise this movie enough. So, what? Should I talk about the plot? Well, just for the hell of it, here's the gist. Based on the Under the Red Hood story from the comics, a new crime boss shows up in Gotham calling himself the Red Hood, who clearly has a connection with either Batman, the Joker, or both. Without going into too much spoilers, this movie is just a fantastic story, and the dialogue is excellent. This movie just is one of the best Batman movies ever made. That can't be disputed. Not to mention the amazing cast within this film. Jensen Ackles is Red Hood, Bruce Greenwood is Batman, and of course, John DiMaggio is the Joker. Both cold and calculated, but also gleeful and evil at the same time. He just gets it. Which is why I'm happy to say I actually got his autograph at a convention. Now, I didn't go to this convention. This was a gift from one Jackie Gremlin Ghost on YouTube. I'll link her channel in the description. Go follow her. She's awesome. And thank you so much for getting John to sign this for me. Yes, it hangs on my wall. And the number 1 DC animated movie is Superman vs. the Elite. Look, I get why some people might not like Superman. I understand. And with overly masculine parody after overly masculine parody coming out, it's hard to really remember why Superman is so great to begin with. And in all honesty, that's probably the big reason why this movie is my number 1 pick. Let me break it down for you. Based on the story What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, Superman's moral compass is now put into question when the Elite roll into town, a group of teenage superheroes who declare themselves judge, jury, and executioner. Will the two of them be able to strike an understanding, or will Superman have to stoop to the level of the Elite in order to defeat them? I think the reason why this is the best DC animated movie, and especially one of the best Superman movies, is that it just understands what makes Superman so endearing. It's not that he was the first superhero or that he was the most powerful superhero or anything like that. And it's not any of his powers that make him great. The only power he has that makes him endure for such a long time is not his speed or his strength. It is his strength of will. He behaves the textbook way that a superhero should behave. Yes, Superman is basically a human god, and he has the power to solve all the world's problems faster than a speeding bullet. But he's not here to solve our problems. He's here to help us continue to solve them, continue to make life easier, and continue to make a better tomorrow. Superman behaves the way that he does because it is easy to give in to vengeance and violence, but he doesn't because that's not what heroes do. His love is what makes him so super. Well, that's my list. I hope you enjoyed the list. Hope you had fun. Hope you get the chance to check out some of these movies. And I'm the Joyful Jester, and in all seriousness, take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of yourselves. For truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.